Hey everybody, it's Galmadex, and welcome back to another premiere draft of Aetherdrift with one alchemy card added to each pack. And speaking of alchemy cards, that is probably what we're going to take here. The Fuel Tank Feaster is a great little mana dork that also makes your most expensive creature cheaper every turn. So it's kind of like getting you 2 mana a turn in a sense. And it's really good in green decks because there's a lot of great beefy creatures in green, like Hazard of the Dunes. Specifically, Migrating Ketrodon's an excellent 6-drop that really helps you stabilize. So making those cards a lot cheaper with the Feaster plays super well. Plus, yeah, once again, just a man of any color, so it's also great fixing. Fuel Tank Feaster, pretty easily the best card in the pack. The only other competition is just another green spell, as is the case with Aetherdrift. It's just, here's some great green. Pick number 2, we are definitely early enough to take a Hazoret and try to be a max speed, kind of start your engines sort of deck, but Possession Engine is also tremendously powerful, being both a removal spell and a 5/5 vehicle to bash in with, because you can crew this with whatever you stole from your opponent. So Possession Engine also very powerful, and it plays a little bit better with green than Hazoret would. Hazoret really wants to be in a deck that's good at reaching max speed, which is particularly the red, black, and white kind of decks. Those are the decks with a bunch of cheap creatures that start your engines, so that every point of damage you're getting in throughout the game is raising your speed. Green doesn't really have that going for it, so I'll go for the Possession Engine between two pretty strong rares. Take the one that works a little better with our first pick, so we have a chance of playing both of these together. Here's a run over for just the excellent green removal spell in the format. It's competing with very little. There's like an engine rat, I guess. Maybe this alchemy draw spell's okay, but I'm just going to take run over. Pick 4. Very interesting. If I want to stick to what I'm doing right now, I can take Fixing from Veloheart Bike or Diversion Unit, which is solid for the cost. 2 mana, 2/1 flyer. And it can maybe counter an instant or sorcery later. But we do get a bump in power level by going for off-color removal like Spin Out, or the Boom Scholar here towards Gruul, making all the exhaust abilities even cheaper. So really solid cards towards those directions. But again, I don't think the drop in power level is particularly massive, taking like Diversion Unit here. So there's a real contention in this pick here. I think we're early enough to be speculative. I'm going to go for the Boom Scholar on that one. Pick number 5, there's a Spike Shell Harrier, like that better than Venom Sack Lagak. This is an excellent tempo play out of blue. Pretty easy pick. Pick number 6, Thornwood Falls for great fixing, or we have the Keen Buccaneer or the Nimble Thopterist for solid creatures. I actually think Keen Buccaneer could be better in green-blue, because there are some cards in this color pair that care about, like, every time you've exhausted a creature, you draw a card, or every time you exhaust a creature, get a 1/1 flyer. And if we splash around and go 3 color, then we also have this reducing exhaust ability. So just specifically this having an exhaust ability could play pretty well. Pick 7, yeah, speaking of exhaust abilities, there's Strategist, but there's also Thunderhead Gunner to splash in. If we're still considering red here. Plus, gives us kind of a solid little off-ramp sort of backup plan, and maybe going towards blue-red cycling. Then we have 4 cards that would all be perfectly solid in that deck. Yeah, I think Thunderhead Gunner is just genuinely stronger than Strategist, because you do have to dump a whole bunch of mana into this before you're excited. And it's also like a 4-mana card that dies to the 1-mana Grimbauble, 2-mana Lightning Strike and stuff. So I'm going to go for the beef here. I'm going to go for Thunderhead Gunner. Card does play real well. Pick 8. Decently late Venom Sack Lagak to keep us on green. Bounce Off is a very fine blue bounce spell. I like that too. There's also Rugged Highlands or Night Market. Give us solid fixing to keep things together whatever direction we go. I think these are all really reasonable choices. I think green's a strong enough color. I'm going to hold on to it as long as I can here. Looking primarily to hopefully still just be Simic in this draft, but we'll see. Pick 9. Okay, this pack is a complete miss. There's nothing in here I'd be excited to play in any deck, but Huldrifter is closest. I mean, Grim Javelineer is fine in like the Rakdos speed decks, but again, not super exciting. Pick 10. Very little I'm interested in. We'll grab a Scrap Compactor. If whatever deck we draft ends up being super low on removal, we can shove that in. Another Keen Buccaneer, pick 11. Also the bike looking solid too. Feel more married to blue than anything else at this point, so I'm just going to grab another Buccaneer. Now I can grab a bike over these two cards that are really filler. Sure, filler combat trick over filler 2-drop. Thopters, pick 14. Definitely like being blue in this pod. And let's see what we got. Pack number 2, pick 1. We got kind of a mythic uncommon here, the Deviant Skytech. 3 mana for 2/1/1 flyers, and you start your engines. Even if this is the only start your engines card in your whole deck, it's really good at helping itself reach max speed because you play it and you get 2 evasive threats immediately to keep chipping away and raising your speed. Once you do hit max speed, this is 4/1/1 flyers off of 1 card, which is absurd. So I actually think Deviant Skytech is genuinely slightly better than Earth Rumbler, and it's in a color we're slightly deeper into, so it leaves us open to, again, like blue-red cycling. If something really weird happens, maybe we get past an incredible blue-red cycling rare or something, and get bucked off the green. So I'm going Deviant Skytech. Pack 2, pick 2. There is an interesting card here, but I've got like no cards towards the white, but technically Mendicant Core would be fun with Deviant Skytech, because it's spitting out a bunch of artifacts off just the one spell. I do think that is too bold to just jump ship towards that when we can just take Sky Serpent Seeker, an excellent green-blue exhaust card, or even the Great Fang Chroniclers. If you curve out with this, it's really good. If you can get that attack in without it dying, get the double team trigger, that's when it's going to be incredible. If you can't, it's really just going to be a 2-mana 2/2 most of the time. If you can't get the double team going. Like if you draw it later in the game, like it's just going to chump attack. But it's great when you curve out with it, so there's that. I think Sky Serpent Seeker is just a little bit more consistently good, but both are really excellent uncommons here. I'm going to go for the Sky Serpent Seeker. Pick 3, we got a Stampeding Scurryfoot, one of Green's best commons. It also has the Exhaust ability if we find any of the Signpost uncommons for our archetype that trigger every time we exhaust somebody. That will be really good. Here's Hazard of the Dunes, incredibly beefy for the cost, and triggers all those exhaust cards if we pick those up. And here we are, kind of how I was saying in yesterday's Mardu draft. Here I am drafting the same deck I've drafted 50 times before, but with different bombs, with different beef. It's certainly a deck I think is going to be really strong, so I should be happy here, but it does feel a little bland to me at this point. Pick 5. Howler's Heavy, Bestow Greatness for combat tricks, or Boosted Sloop off the splash. Really prefer to cut a second Bestow Greatness or first Heavy, so I really doubt I'm playing Sloop either, but I don't think I'm playing anything out of that pack most likely. Here's another Thopterus. That's perfectly reasonable. Redshift is really awkward. Like, by the time you can afford to exhaust it, you've already dumped your hand. Yeah, so it's like fine if you're already strictly Gruul, but it's not really worth splashing or anything. I'll take the Thopterus here. Pick 7, a second Sky Serpent Seeker. Nice and late for that card. Pretty happy with that. That means we're the only green-blue drafter out of those 6 players. Probably. I mean, it's possible that somebody opened a really good green or blue rare, right? If the green-blue drafter, the other green-blue drafter at the table opened a really good green rare or a really good blue rare, they would have taken it over the Seeker, and then that just passes by all the other non-green-blue specific players, and we get it. So it's not a guarantee or anything, but it's a decent sign. Pick 8, probably Loxodon Surveyor. I don't hate like a one-of Gear Seeker Serpent in most blue decks, but that's when I have like a little more artifacts than this, I think. And it's never exciting, it's just like the one-of to maybe win really long board stalls. That's some crazy Word of Invention artwork. Is that actually just worth running with a Possession Engine? An 8 mana instant speed Possession Engine? Probably not. But it's funny. So I did draft it. Solid little creatures to fill out the curve with. Get to cut this red stuff now as we move into the third pack. Okay, yep, here's 23 non-land cards, so every time I take a card, I get to cut a card now. I'll run Ether Jacket over Howler's Heavy, but barely, I think. Okay, and then Camera Launcher over Ether Jacket, but barely. Bestow Greatness looks like the next cuts here. Looking for better interaction, better removal, and a little bit more top end, I think. Like some more big exhaust abilities, or just like 6-drop creatures. Alright, well, we'll play the Ether Spark here, try that thing out. I still have never cast that card in my life, but I had an opportunity to pick it up during an Arena Open draft and decided to go for just a really solid green uncommon instead. And the comment section absolutely exploded. So apparently everyone who has played with this card has had really good experiences with it, but I'd exclusively played against it at the time, and in pretty removal-heavy decks where I don't think I lost to the card a single time in my life. So just in my experience, it was pretty bad for my opponents, so I assumed probably pretty bad, but apparently not. So we'll try the Ether Spark here over an Otark Mammoth, which still feels rough for me because Otark Mammoth is exactly what I was looking for, like a big 6-drop finisher, but this can get a lot of value if it sits around for a long time, and there are definitely a lot of games in the format where it will be apt to do that. Like a lot of board stalls where we're just sitting here and it's like, okay, I'm just going to keep putting counters on my board and drawing cards. I guess a lot of it is that just like Planeswalker-like cards do play well in board stall-y formats, and this is a board stall-y format. We just opened the best alchemy rare. Let's go. Support Skyforge. 5 mana for 4 1/1 servos and a crew 4/4/4 flying vigilance that attacks and then puts a 2 mana 4/4 flyer in your hand. That is the dream. It could also get a 2 mana 2/2 flash flyer, a 2 mana 2/3 flyer, 2 mana 3/3 flyer, but it does whatever you draft out of its spellbook, it makes it an artifact creature instead of a vehicle. So it's an absurdly well statted card no matter what that you're getting out of the spellbooks. This is 100% worth the splash here, and the splash is pretty easy. And now Transit Mage is so silly in this deck because it can tutor up Possession Engine or support Skyforge or Spike Shell Harrier. If there was ever a deck for Whir of Invention, it would be a deck that can tutor out a Skyforge or Possession Engine or Harrier. And heaven forbid I lead with the Skyforge, get all those servo tokens, and then I get to improvise the Whir of Invention by tapping a bunch of servos for the X. I can just spend triple blue, tap 4 servos and a Skyforge, and get the Possession Engine at instant speed. This deck has some spice to it. My God. So pick 4. I think we have enough really scary bomby cards now between the Possession Engine and the Skyforge to maybe try to take the Defend the Rider here to protect them over running Bestow Greatness style Trample Tricks. Pothole Mill would also be quite solid here, but I do really like the idea of the Hexproof protection spell here for this deck. Cut the 2 Bestows right now. Pick 5. I don't think I have any creatures with no abilities to grab with Fang Druid Summoner, sadly. And that does leave me to take the Spike Shell Harrier instead, or the Tranquil Cove, honestly. But I have Veloheart Bike, I have Fuel Tank Feaster, so I have 2 ways to tap for mana of any color. And I think Spike Shell Harrier is still just a really good card, so playing another is great. I mean, we could also splash Mimeoplasm. I'm going to not go for 2 different splashes here. I don't want to try to splash white and splash black at the same time. That feels maybe a little bit bold. So we'll just take the Harrier there. Pick 6. God, yeah, this draft is an incredible draft to be blue-green in, because there's the excellent Flood the Engine removal, or another Hazard of the Dunes for more beef. I think we've got the big artifact rares to be ending the games with now, so I'm going to get the more removal into this deck. Wow. A second Hazard of the Dunes is probably better than a third Spike Shell Harrier. 4th. 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 But it's just kind of crazy that we have that choice. There's also a scrap compactor if I feel really low on removal, or a starting column for the fixing, but I'm going to take the hazard. Pick 8, there we go. Another bike works for more fixing. Well, I wield the Otark Mammoth anyway. What do I even cut now? The deck is too good. I have to cut like Thopterus. I have nothing for the Fang Druid Summoner, but I'm not going to play 3 Buccaneers. I'll have to cut one of these. Gotta cut a Diversion unit or some Vanguards too. Too much of a good thing here. Maybe Venom Saklagak. Some amount of Buccaneers. Probably cut a Spectral Interference too. Okay. This is going to be a 1 planes double Skyforge, or sorry, double Skyforge, double, my brain's dead. Veloheart Bike kind of splash. Because we have 2 bike and fuel tank feaster towards the single Skyforge. Plus I could wear the Skyforge out. I kind of want to keep the artifact count higher for Whir of Invention. Which makes me like the Thopterists more. But I just don't have room. I gotta cut 8 cards here unless we go the 50 card special. Put 2 cards back in. I guess it would be like land, because they have, you know, like 30 non-lands right now or something. But that's just never correct. Wow, yeah. This deck is... Oh, me. Yeah, I like every single card that's in this deck right now, and I have to cut 8 of them. So some amount of the mid-range creatures. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. That'd still be like a 17 creature deck, so I still cut 2 more. 5 2-drops is definitely enough for this deck. We're not really aggroing out, we're just wanting to curve out decently enough to fight against other people curving out and live long enough to get to insane spells. So, like, Lagak and the Vanguards, probably the worst 2s. Maybe Diversion Unit. It's like 23 creatures. I can cut like 5 of them really easily. So let's just put the ones that look best back in. I like that Diversion Unit is an artifact to go with Whir of Invention. Probably more silly than anything, but doesn't stop me from liking it. That also adds to our flying count to help raise our speed with the Skytech thing, although again, I don't think this card needs that much help since it makes the Thopters. But still worth mentioning. I like playing at least 1 more 2-drop here to have 5. I'm going to go Beast Rider Vanguard over Venom Sac. I have 2 other Death Touchers, and the Vanguard gives us a good mana sink if we do just run out of stuff to do, which again probably doesn't happen with how much insane top end we have, but just in case, I don't mind that. And then I like that the Buccaneers do some digging towards the insane top end, but I also like that the Thopterists give us Thopters. So I'm going to put like 1 Thopterist still in and just like 2 Buccaneers. And that's probably like the 17 creature count. Okay, it's more, because that's 15 creatures, 16 from Skytech, 17 from Engine, 18 from Skyforge. This is still really creature heavy. Yeah, I might have to just cut all the Thopterists then. Very standard looking mana curve this way. Don't mind it at all. Yeah, I'll cut the last Thopterist too. 2 more cards to cut. Defend the Rider, Spectral Interference feel like some of the most narrow. I mean, Whir of Intervention, or Whir of Invention also feels narrow, but it also feels very fun. 8 mana is a lot. But I mean, for 7 mana, if I have like an artifact on creature or 2, then it is pretty good. But for 7 mana, I can put an Aether Spark out during our opponent's end step. For 8 mana, we get a Possession Engine, a Skyforge. It's so much mana, but with 3 different 4 and 5 mana rare and mythic artifacts here, it feels worth it. I've got 2 bikes for a little bit of mana ramp here. Would it be insane to cut a land? Probably, but I have 2 bikes and a feaster. And I've recently got quite into cutting lands. I think I'm going to go Spectral Interference. I'm a little more scared of our opponents playing their own bombs than killing ours. So I'll cut Defend the Rider and keep Spatial. And drop a land here. Because I think we have enough just generally beefy creatures to have our opponents blow their removal on that. And most of our rares are like, even if they get blown up, we're ahead in cards. Like the Skyforge. Oh no, they blew up the Skyforge. I still got 4 1/1s. We're way ahead there. Aether Spark, if they don't blow it up immediately, we get ahead in cards. Possession Engine is a tempo play still. So, 14 blue, 11 green, 1 white. Means cut 1 green. Sure. Cut that and call it a deck here. We've got a sweet, spicy little Bant artifact bombs build. Really just Simic artifact bombs, but we're splashing in the best, probably the best rare period off of white to make it a full Bant deck here. Got a really good curve, insanely explosive top end. Looks like a spicy, spicy deck here, so we'll see how it all plays out for us as we head into the gameplay. All right, here we are for game 1 with an excellent hand. Any hand with Transit Mage is busted because we just grab our choice out of a laundry list of great rares. And there's Whir of Invention as well. This is a really good Whir of Invention hand because we have the Deviant Skytech to spit out those servo tokens to improvise this for even cheaper. And there's another artifact creature. I am really excited by how this game is looking. If our opponent doesn't blow up the Feaster, that's also going to make the Harrier cheaper to potentially drop it on turn 4. So we go like Mage into Harrier into a 5-drop that the Mage tutored for. Oh yeah, it makes it cheaper, so I even could just play it this turn because the Feaster also taps for mana. My oh my, this deck. What do I do? I mean, if I just tutor out the support Skyforge, I just cast that next turn if they don't kill Feaster. But they also don't have any flyers to stop the Skytech, and I can also work my way towards just whirring something like that out. I'm gonna go for the Skytech here. There's so many ways we could play it here that all look very powerful. I can already Whir of Invention for 4 and find the Aether Spark next turn. Because Feaster plus double Island, and then the 4 mana from Forest, Servo. Really don't think I'm doing that, though. I think I'm waiting for just 1 more mana and whirring the Skyforge out. Okay. I'm going to hold up this run over here. In case they do some weird stuff during combat. I guess I don't have a big enough creature to really do anything super well with the run over here. Okay, we do hit. It can drop a Transit Mage, hold up a run over for 2. And grab something, or I can drop a Harrier, hold up a run over for 4 and drop something. I'm not very happy if either of these gets countered, but I actually think I'm less happy if they counter Transit Mage because of how powerful our artifacts we can find off that are. So I'm going to lead the Harrier out first. And force the recast of the Buccaneer. Alright, so they're just using the Scurryfoot this turn. Fair enough. Cannot stop them from getting the 3-3 even if I run over in response. So you got it. I do have the mana to Whir of Invention for support Skyforge. Next turn if I don't attack at all in the sky. Feels great. Counter the run over and kill their 3-3 off of one card. There's Masterpiece Vault from our opponent, but they have a single 2-2. And because they just have a single 2-2, that leaves me very free to Whir of Invention here, because all they can do to stop me from speeding up is chump the 4-4, so I get to just send that in and still speed up. The world was just absolutely our oyster this game. We got to do all the stuff. It's ridiculous. I guess I'll cry a little bit if they have Spell Pierce. But as far as I remember, that's like the only counter spell in the main set to counter a big instant like this. The common is counter a creature or an artifact. Alright, they're going for the Masterpiece Vault. Let them find whatever they want first, because this includes a bunch of swords that have protection from color and color. So I want to have them choose before I Whir, so they don't know I'm going to have a really big white permanence onto the board, so they don't specifically find protection from white here. Now, if they find protection from blue, that's going to stop the Skyforge anyway. But give them less information this way. Kind of sad I don't get to look through its spellbook. See what they're... Oh, there we go. Here's their potential options. Wait, how do I cycle through them? I'm trying to right-click. It's not... Oh, there we go. I have to click on the main Masterpiece Vault. Yeah, protection green-blue, black-green, red-blue, white-black, so on. They found blue and red. Yeah, so they will have protection here, which is rough. Okay, I mean, we definitely chump, because if it hits us, they kill a Thopter and draw a card, so it's better for them to just kill a Thopter instead of kill 1+ draw a card. Boop. And I didn't find the Skyforge and try to chump with that. I guess I could have done that first and then traded all the servos into it. But I like keeping the servos. Maybe that's greedy. I mean, if I keep the servos, then I can just chump with a servo every turn from there. Okay, I did sequence that wrong. So I still don't really want to trade 4 servos into the Scurryfoot, but if I just did that first, I would have traded a 1-1 on the ground instead of a 1-1 in the sky. But yeah, I mean, they scoop on the spot. This is ridiculous the way this game went. And then we're going to be at max speed, which gives us 2 more 1-1 flyers. And I have the mana, especially because Feaster is going to make Transit Mage cost 1. I get the 1 mana Transit Mage and also play like an Aether Spark here, or a Possession Engine. But Possession Engine doesn't do anything because they have Pro Blue. That's insane. All right, well, that's a really good showing from the deck on the first game. We'll see if it can keep that up. Probably not that insane, but if it gets half as good hands as that for the rest of this draft, we should be having some fun here and getting a pretty solid record. So we'll see how it plays out. We're 1-0 heading into Game 2. Here we are for Game 2. Sadly, we do not have a blue source, so this feels like a forced mull. I have 4 blue spells in the hand. If I don't hit the blue source, I don't do anything till turn 4, and that's only if I hit a land every single turn. Yeah, I mean, this hand just incredibly dies without drawing the blue. I'm going to take the mulligan on it. Much better mana here. We get rid of Whir of Invention as it is immensely expensive. It's tempting to keep, though, when I have the Skyforge for all the servos to go with it, but I can't afford to be gambling on what I'm going to be doing really late from now. I need to keep the cheapest cards. I mean, I guess I am going Vanguard into Skyforge, because, like, I have the white source here. I'm not going to turn 5 Harrier over playing turn 5 Skyforge. Okay, yeah, I mean, I guess since it has 2 different 5-drops in the hand, I can actually keep Whir over the other 5 and then cast Whir on turn 6 with all the servo tokens. Track Hand Trainer, incredible start for our opponent. We have seen so many copies of this card in our recent drafts. Not once have I seen it to be able to draft it myself, but always seen it on our opponent's board. So they get to slam a Training Grounds out, and then they get to start just spending 3 mana to draw a card every single turn. I'll poke for 2 here. They can poke back for 1. Yeah, Track Hand Trainer, pretty exceptional. It's already really good by itself, just 3 mana to draw a card over and over and over again. But it plays super well in this format because the Training Grounds also reduces all of your exhaust abilities. There's tons of exhaust abilities in the set. Abilities like Vanguard count as well. There's a lot of stuff it can do. Little sad they already got the cost reduction value from their Training Grounds, but we can stop the Track Hand Trainer from drawing a million cards for the rest of this game by flooding here, and I have nothing else to cast this turn anyway. There's the stock up, so they are still going to draw a million cards. Come on, basic land. Basic land, and we are so in this game. Basic island, and we're in an incredibly good spot. But I've already drawn the only planes in the whole deck, so no matter what, it's a good color for us. It's the 2nd green for Mammoth or the 3rd blue for Whir if we hit a land. If we don't hit a land, we are pretty sad. But Deviant Skytech also plays really well with Whir of Invention. It's not the end of the world. I'm going to attack with Vanguard here towards maybe raising our speed and getting rid of the Grease Wrench Goblin to stop them from being able to ditch some lands or draw some other cards or anything. I just don't think we're going to be in a position for a very long time where I'm actually going to be activating this 5-mana ability. Because once I hit the 5th land, I'm playing Skyforge, then I'm playing Whir, then I'm playing Mammoth. So, very, very far ways away. Sadly, our draws are pretty bad here. We have to just pass. That was 2 opportunities in a row where it's like any land in the deck, and I am immensely golden. We're not under a bunch of pressure right now. At least. But obviously the Skytech is pretty threatening from our opponent if they get to max speed, so we'll have to consider just trading our Thopters off for theirs. Man, I mean, it sucks that the trade is so much worse for us because our Thopters are also mana for Whir of Invention if I hit a blue. I think I have to let it in and then just crack back towards them. But they're going to be at max speed first, which is kind of brutal. Okay. 6 mana up is way too suspicious. The common counterspell is counter an artifact or creature, so they can hit Skyforge with that. They can't hit Whir of Invention. I can only Whir out the Ether Spark right now, though. But I could hold up the counter and Whir out the Ether Spark otherwise. I'll double check what's in my deck here. Yeah, I have no... I mean, I could Whir of Invention a Diversion unit, I guess? That doesn't really make any sense. I guess if they cast a really good instant or sorcery. But I don't have quadruple blue. I'd have to triple blue and then also spend a blue to sack that. So yeah, it's Whir of Invention out the Ether Spark to play around counter an artifact or creature. Or if I think they're just holding up removal, I can just slam down the Skyforge and I still get all the servos. If I were for the Ether Spark right now, I get to plus it immediately and get a counter on a servo. Versus Whirring at instant speed, I don't get to activate it a single time next turn. I think it's still better to just do it at instant speed in their end step. Alright, they didn't do anything with all their mana, which makes it even more look like counter spells. Oh, it's removal, so like flood the engine one here. Okay, well I have to word now, because it's going to be tapped. Which does mean they can attack the Ether Spark instead of me, but if they do that, then they are not raising their speed. I guess they could go one to me, one to the Ether Spark. It's probably their best play. One to the Ether Spark, one to me. Hopefully no Lightning Strike in their hand, but they are a red deck. That would be particularly rough. Okay. Let's see if I can get them. Tap out into something else. Not have the mana up for Skyforge here. Don't get them to tap out for any removal or anything. There's no way. Is their hand just like 4 lands or something? It's like the only thing that makes sense outside of the spectral interference. It feels so bold to Skyforge. But at this rate, they have so much mana, it only costs 2 to hold up. It's not like they're ever going to be tapped out of holding it up. I guess we have to just go for it. Because, like, I'm not going to have 9 mana to be able to pay for it. That's so frustrating. I'm not going to have 9 mana to be able to pay for it. And they have, like, 9 lands now. I guess 8 lands. So they're never going to tap out of it. It's only 2 mana to hold up. They can cast 6 mana of spells and still do it. Man, yeah, that's just brutal. Kind of just gets us there. Just lines up too well. Alright, and have Engineer and Gear Hulk that they were just going to sit on so they could hold the interference up. Yeah, that's Alchemy Draft for you. Get out-bombed, and we are moving on. Oh, I forgot we even mulliganed last game, too. We were down a card at the start. I wasn't even taking that into account. Anyways, we're on game 3. 1-1 now. Definitely looking for a white source, but even without it, the Transit Mage can just find one of the castable rares. There's the white source. Unfortunately, we're on the draw again, so we're going to get beat down by Scurryfoot a little bit here. Before we start doing stuff. Probably just turn 3 Bike, turn 4 Skyforge. Against a non-blue deck, just slam it. Okay. Drop our Bike. Pass. I think our opponent AFK'd through their turn. Alright, they're here. Rocketeer Boost Buggy. Poke for 1 with Scurryfoot. Here's a Skyforge. Lost the Scurryfoot. They're tapped out of doing any nonsense here. I will take whatever damage they send my way, because we have ridiculous counterattacks. Actually, when they were tapped out, I should have eaten something with the Skyforge at least. Crew the Skyforge. I'm interested in being able to crew the Skyforge while still having some servos untapped for Whir, but I'm not going to have like triple blue up for Whir and do that anyway. Yeah, let's just go big. Go nice and big and safe here. Now they just have no attacks for the rest of history. Oops. If I click the all attack button, they do. Here's a 3/5 defender. I'm just gonna punt all over the place this game. But I do not think it matters because we are miles ahead. Started playing really lazy when they just AFK'd for a whole turn. I kind of zoned out, I'm gonna be honest. I'm still zoning back in from waiting out the rope. Okay. What do we do here? I mean, kill them. They have one Earth Rumbler on blocks. I mean, I really just do whatever I want, honestly. I'm just gonna cast spells and see what happens. But it should be powerful stuff. Okay. They did not crew Earth Rumbler in response, but they can crew Boost Buggy with Scurryfoot and then use Boost Buggy to crew Earth Rumbler. So I still don't have attacks on the ground this turn. Okay. They do concede. They almost completely timed out before they finally let that resolve, so. I'm going to try to wake up a little bit between games. Get my head back into game. We are 2-1 heading into game 4. Here we are for game number 4 on the play. This hand would be perfect if this plains were an island. Can still play the Feaster. And the Feaster can cast the rest. It's not actually reducing any costs or anything. So it is losing like half of its value, but I mean, I think the power is still here. I mean, Feaster, Seeker, Seeker, lands all over the place. See what we can get going with Aether Spark. Walking Sarcophagus. A blue source, baby. What if I just annoy my opponent? Now they really need to kill Feaster. They cannot kill Feaster, so we are kind of popping off. Could have gotten 2 more counters on the Spark here, but then I don't get to play both Seekers because I'm tapping out of my second green. So I like this a little better, and then start jamming. Playing against the black-white deck, so it should be pretty difficult for them to blow up the Aether Spark itself. Ooh, Lake Green Armory? I love to see that, because I do not think that card is very good. I don't think it really does anything here. It, like, crews a vehicle every turn, and their board has Vigilance now, but that's far from particularly impactful this game. I'm at 16. I'm jamming all out. 10 loyalty for that? No, I'm just going to draw 2. Cool. Well, we did the Aether Spark thing this game. Didn't get to do much with it last time when we worded it, but it is going kind of ham here. Okay. That Lake Green Army just got infinitely scarier because it crews the Salvation Engine. Yeah. Let's flood that, I think. 1 mana from also bouncing with Harrier, sadly. Not quite there. So let's just go Mammoth, and that'll give us all the blockers we need. I'll hold this Seeker back too to be really safe. Now that there's a chance of 6/10s coming at us if they do some kind of enchantment removal or something. Alright. I didn't even realize I hadn't played a land that turn yet, so if we drew one off Aetherspark, we could have played the Harrier instead of Mammoth. Fuel Tank Feaster. Consistent MVP today. 4 mana Otark Mammoth. Pretty egregious. We cast a 3 mana Harrier game 1, I think. I think I take the trade here. I've got so much card advantage from the Aetherspark alone, I don't need to exhaust. Blue, blue, blue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have enough mana to just Whir of Invention. I could do the Deviant Skytech and Whir as well, because I can also tap the Aetherspark towards it. So triple blue, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. I guess I should have pre-combated this since I'm not drawing the card this turn. Just put another counter on Seeker. Could have hit for 1 more. Guidelight Synergist, and there's the concession. We don't even need to tutor out the next bomb. That is 3 and 1 heading into game number 5. All right, here we are on the draw for game number 5. This is the... Hand's got some risk to it because our opponent's on the play, and we're not doing anything till turn 4, really, because I have to play Bike on 3 if I don't hit the island. But if we hit the island, the hand's incredible. And if they're not on a really aggressive start, I still have a very good late game to stabilize with. Uh-oh, the triple blue spell off this hand. That's a pretty bad draw. Like, technically the Skytech's pretty good with it, but it's gonna be a long time until I hit triple blue. Here's the Bike, and the sad thing about it is it's very obvious I need the Bike here. Because there's forest, 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 so if our opponent has a Sky Crash or something to blow up an artifact, we kind of do just lose. Because it is very clear the right play would be to blow that up. But, hey, we hit the island. So I can play Skytech and Seeker, or Skytech and Diversion Unit. I do not want to crew the Bike. As much as I'd like to raise my speed here, it feels pretty important still to keep that mana, so it feels kind of greedy to try to crew the Bike and send in here over just playing another blocker, and not putting the Bike at risk of like a lightning strike or something. Okay, I'm actually going to go Diversion Unit over Seeker. Because I'll have 6 mana next turn to play and exhaust the Seeker if I want. And I would really rather exhaust it before it dies. I don't want to play it here and have it just get Grimbobbled or something, but if Diversion Unit gets Grimbobbled, whatever. Or Lightning Strike, same difference. They probably stop... Well... But now it's debatable. I was going to say they probably stop attacking me with Wicker Folk now just so I can't raise my speed towards Skytech, but now that they played their own max speed card, we both get a lot of value by going to max speed, so they are going to send in. Fair. I can go triple blue 5. I won't have any flyers untapped, and I won't be raising my speed at all this turn. But it's definitely a play. Just get the ship here. I think I'd rather raise my speed when I still have other really good things to do. And I can just grab the ship soon enough. And this forces removal onto the Sky Serpent Seeker, or they can't get the Wicker Folk in. They can get the zombie token in, though. Okay, they get that token and go to speed 3. The Speed Demon. So they're gonna draw a million cards, take a million damage. Speed Demon is really, really good. We gotta try to outrace it. Oh, we drew the Skyforge. That would seem bad, but it goes kind of hard here because the whir is really easy now. So I can play. Oh my god, this is egregious. Watch this. I just realized what I can do to them, and it's pure evil. Genuinely pure evil. I'll take that. Thank you. Oh my god. Oh my god. That was a turn. Okay. So they have to have like a sky crash or a spin out to blow up that possession engine, or they just have no shot at this point. But getting back their speed demon would give them a lot of stuff here. There's the Our Victory active thanks to Thrill Seeker hitting me no matter what. They have max speed, so they could crack Our Victory to find Sky Crash. They're just over it. That is so fair. That is so fair. What a ridiculous turn there. I mean, we got to do the thing that I was talking about. I was like, I mean, Skyforge and Whir. During the draft, I was saying it kind of cheekily. I was like, I do get a bunch of servos to improvise with Whir. I was saying it in a cheeky way of like, that's not a good reason to run it, because the odds of drawing the two cards together are pretty low, but whew, we drew them together there, and boom! Skyforge Possession Engine, take your Speed Demon and draw all the cards off its ability. Incredibly stupid game of Magic there, and we are 4-1 heading into game number 6. Here we are now for game 6. We have both of the main colors. I'm definitely low on lands, just a 2-lander here, but we're on the draw, and we have a good turn 2 play and a good counterspell to hold up regardless of the mana we draw into. I did immediately hit a land, which is good. This hand definitely wants to get up to 5 mana, and then I guess I play a little greedy and just hope we get enough artifacts to whir at 5 mana, right? Triple blue, and then 1/2. If I have 2 artifacts on board, that's enough to grab the Ether Spark, and I've got a unit and an engine. Sadly, they have that Deviant Skytech that is so good here. It's really gross against Diversion Unit, too. It's going to easily just keep working to max speed. Yeah, that's just the 4/1/1 flyers, guaranteed. Unless I 2-for-1 myself and kill both of their flyers, and then I don't have the removal for their scarier cards. Yeah, it's kind of tragic. This draft has really been the draft to show off how powerful Deviant Skytech is, though, because it's been consistently fantastic for our opponents and ourselves. I am 1 land away. From Possession Engine. And their board is just a ticket toward us now. I don't know if it would be insane to try to... Especially now that our victory also wants max speed, I don't think it's that insane to try to just kill both the Thopters here. Trade a unit off and use a run over. Playing around combat tricks here, I guess. They have 1 and a blue. They could have a bounce off to counter run over. But they can't do any kind of like removal. Bounce off, I think, is the only card they can have for 1 and a blue that counters run over. If I cast it right now. I think I'm casting it right now. Cool. Did not hit the land, so we just play the Seeker and hold up Interference. If we hit the land, we were going to Possession Engine a 1/1 flyer, which is kind of embarrassing, but I think worth it there. Because they have 2 absurdly powerful max speed payoffs. 3. Uh-oh. Tutor for the 2 best rares in their deck, and spit out 2 more Thopters. That's not good for me. Plus, they're casting exclusively enchantments, which is like so gross. Because they're casting exclusively enchantments, I don't get to counter anything with this interference. I've had the mana up for like 2 turns in a row. They have the mana to pay for the interference there, and I really need to activate Sky Serpent Seeker here. Blue, actually not horrible with Word of Invention in hand. Harrier. I don't really want to possess this unit. Well, it's not the worst target ever, because I can possess it and then I can always counter an instant or sorcery without losing one of my own creatures. Could also flood the engine on it and play a Transit Mage and then still have possession for the next threat. I'm gonna flood the engine. Grab an Aether Spark, because I don't have white mana, so we need to whir for the white bomb. Voyage Home, draw 3. No, there's the white mana. 7. Triple blue and 4. Not quite. Not quite. Just go for 5 million counters, I guess. This also puts another artifact on board to do the thing next turn. Oh, I totally forgot. I didn't have enough power yet for that. But I still have an 8 loyalty Aether Spark now that really needs to be interacted with. I still get to draw the 2 off this next turn, even if I lost the Transit Mage. Yeah, the fact that I couldn't make it big enough to get through Tortoise means I probably should have just played something else. Not Possession Engine yet. I guess it was just a Spike Shell Harrier turn. Okay, Armory doesn't do anything by itself. Tragedy strikes. Goodbye, Aether Spark. Land. Sort of, but not quite, which is bad. Man, I really just don't have a good play here. Against an empty board. Don't really do anything. double black, so some kind of Gear Hulk or Spin Out or the Speed Demon or something. Quick Welder. I mean, it's far from the scariest card they can cast, but they're at the point where they could cast... Next turn, if they just play a basic land, they can cast a 4-mana spell and up, and I will never be able to counter it anyway. And I'm going to tap out for my bomb next turn regardless. And actually, if it's an artifact bomb, they can tap out for an even bigger one next turn. A 5-mana artifact bomb if they go basic land. Okay, I have no other instance to hold up here, so I don't see a point in playing around. In not playing around and top decking some weird counterspell I'm not thinking of. I feel like I'm playing Chromatic Cube or something. That we're in like a really long game where they have the chance of doing some insanely explosive stuff, and I'm over here doing a bunch of different explosive stuff, hoping it's good enough. I don't feel like I'm drafting a standard legal set right now. Something is funky with these Aetherdrift Alchemy drafts. Case in point, choose an opponent, secretly choose a creature or planeswalker they control, and then I choose one and I have to sack all the chosen cards. That's awkward because I have to click on the exact same servo that they click on, or I have to sack 2 servos. And the odds of that is really low. So I'm just going to have to sack 2 servos here. It splays them out for you too. That's so beautiful. That's so funny. So we got to be like, which one did they click? Does it mirror the board? I can't even, like, there isn't even a strategy to this. There isn't even a rock, paper, scissors strategy to this, because I don't know if it mirrors the board or not. So even if, like, I think they clicked on the third one from their side of the board might be this one and not this one. And then the first one might be this one and not this one. I don't know if it mirrors the board. I think that the one on the far left would appear right here for them. I think it also appears on their far left. And it does like the same order, right? Because the way that our vehicles, right, they appear on our right, they appear on their right. So our vehicles they're looking at right now are over here on the right. So I think I'm going to say they clicked on the second one. Nope. I don't know which one they did, but it wasn't the second one. All right. This doesn't do anything else though, right? Yeah, just when it enters, but that's a really strong enter ability. Cool. We'll get that out of the way for our flyer. Crew the Skyforge with it. And start spitting out absurdly well-rated flyers. Oh, man. Can't cast it just yet, but I think Sky Sovereign is worth it. Especially when it's a permanently crewed Sky Sovereign. Just a 6/5 immediately. Play it, kill the tortoise. Looks like they're flooding out a little bit. They've only got 1 card left in their hand. So I gotta say, I mean, I was worried earlier in the drafting when we were just on our millionth green-blue deck in a row. This does not feel anything like the majority of the green-blue decks that I've played. Because it's got a very big, you know, artifact bomby theme. And this Whir of Invention has been so consistent today. And I was like considering cutting it because I'm like, it's just so much mana, but man, has it been putting in work. Again, when you have such powerful cards to grab, it's probably worth it for the consistency. It's like a 4th great artifact rare. Adding to the stack. position continues to be absurd. Lifelink and Flyer, sure. I don't really want to draw a discard every turn. Not that I'm at risk of milling out anytime soon, but I have so much value already. I'm not really doing card selection here. Or needing card selection here. So I'm just gonna not like mill myself any. Just in super case. Our opponent's really sticking it out. They must have something super strong in their deck if they feel they still have a chance. They could have one of those board wipes that destroys all creatures and vehicles, but we still beat that. We've got 2 Harriers and a Seeker in hand, and because of the Skyforger's ability giving us a creature every single turn, I can keep playing a creature every turn and still be banking up more to play post-board wipe. So I really don't think there's anything in the format they could really turn it around with. I mean, I guess there's, since we're in Alchemy drafts, there's the green-blue mythic that gives you a random creature at each mana value from X or under. Trade the Helm is a big one, too. Okay. They're at 50. Oh, I just Spike Shell Harrier. I lied. They can't crew this, right? It's crew 4. Well, they can crew it with Armory, but it'll be summoning sick. It'll be summoning sick. So I don't tap anybody or anything. It's a pretty good trade, the Helm. But again, yeah, I just Harrier it back to my hand and recast it. In fact, no, if I Harrier Quick Welder, they just crew Drifter with it anyway and still have 1 blocker up. I was going to say, maybe I can just Harrier the Quick Welder and find lethal, but I can't. There's the concession. Yeah, they see I can just bounce my own Skyforge back, so they are indeed over it, and we are now 5-1. Heading into game number 7, very positive record no matter what. We are in the money no matter what. Yeah, feels great getting a bunch of value out of this draft as we head into round number 7. All right, here we are on the play for round 7. Solid hand here. This Transit Mage has been insane with the amount of artifact bombs we have. And it's going to play no different here. Definitely not picking up the white rare, but I'm not sure which it's taking. It's probably the Aether Spark. Although there's the double blue. That Moose is a problem. I'll have 2 2/2s, just double block with 2 2/2s if they don't have a combat trick. Okay, so I have double blue for Possession Engine, so I can curve out Vanguard, Mage, Hazard, Possession Engine. That feels probably better than taking Aether Spark here by a tiny bit. It's really close. Both are super strong things we could do. I am officially an Aether Spark believer after that one game. It probably would have helped our Arena Open deck for sure. Here's the Hazard pass. Fang Guardian. Pre-combat so that they can saddle and get the buff. That's pretty spicy. They get the ramp here and they get to kill our 4/4. Still worth the kill here with the amount of power we have coming up in this hand and just in this deck in general. Okay. Bike plus Diversion Unit, and I've got a 2/1 blocker up for the 4/2. They need another trick to get that in. I don't feel like throwing the run over at a 4/2 when I have a bunch of 2-power creatures on the board. Okay, I really don't mind this trade. If we trade into a combat trick, that's also fine, because then that combat trick doesn't kill anything better. If it's a second Fang Guardian, that's a little awkward. But obviously the odds are pretty low. They have exactly that. Okay. Possess it. Get aggro a... I was gonna say some slang there that I probably shouldn't. In a very PG video on YouTube. Hit for 8 and pass. I mean, they're just letters, right? Could mean anything. Collision Course is good, but the Fang Guardian's still tapped. We still got some damage here. They can make Veloheart Bike take 2 to crew, but they choose to make Vanguard. Cost more to activate. I think that's just really fine with me. Guardian's a lot more mana to recast. But it has an ETB effect. I'm hitting for 6 here. They're going to be at 3 life. So does it matter that it ETBs well? I think it actually kind of still does. Please do not have bounce off. They did not have bounce off. Oh, I'm hitting for 8. I don't know where I got 6. They go down to 1. If one creature gets in, they're dead. So they just jam for 4, send a message. If they've got the board wipe, I still got the bike, so if I draw any creature, let's go. Oh no, it's my 1 power creature. I could have went full control mode and pretended I could crew Veloheart Bike. Full control, play the Feaster, highlight the Veloheart Bike, wait for concession. Be the Grifter plan. And then we pass. I'm not super happy. I will say that. You've all seen the deck. You know we have a million outs here. But I only got like 2 turns. Man. Board wipe's gonna board wipe. I think they got us here. Again, I have 1 final draw step, but I think it's late enough now. That draw step's not going to be able to turn it around. Especially that they hit the lifelink here. I think if Feaster were literally any other creature in the deck, we would have won this game. Scurryfoot, I had the mana to exhaust. Seeker, I had the mana to exhaust. Skytech works. Buccaneers work. Hazard works. Harrier works. Skyforge works. Mammoth works. If Feaster were just any other creature in the deck that turn, we would have killed them with the bike. Post board wipe. But, yeah, they just went board wipe. We drew Mana Dork, land, Mana Dork. And that's game. Quite dead on board, I am certain. That's very funny. Where is it? Where is it? There it is. That's so funny. Completely unnecessary to the outcome of that game, but also very very fitting end to that game. We are 5-2, heading into game number 8. Here we are now for game number 8, unfortunately starting on the draw with an unkeepable hand. So start with a 6-card hand here, and it's pretty weak for what the deck's capable of, but certainly not worth mulliganing down to 5. I think this is how we do it. No matter what I draw into, I know I get to go Bike Hazard Harrier. Yep. All right. Let's see how this plays out. Our opponent's on red. They do have some of the aggressive Start Your Engines cards. This could be a problem because we're not doing anything till turn 4. There we go. Seeker's good. Trade off into their first threat at worst, and if we can exhaust it, it'll play really well. Cycle a Sky Crash. Doesn't give us too much information. That is main deckable in any red deck. There's plenty of artifacts in the format. You can always cycle it if your opponent doesn't have them. So Boros and Rider Catalyzer. All right, it is aggressive over there. Here's Sky Serpent Seeker. I don't want to have to Seeker into the Catalyzer, but I might have to. We should definitely have a better late game than Boros. But they've got the Road Rage to kill the Seeker, so I don't even have to make that choice. Okay, full Naya. Natural Naya, turn 3. At least I have the Flood the Engine for this Great Fang Chronicler. But this is really, really bad. If I didn't have that Flood the Engine, game might just be over. Right, if I just play the Veloheart Bike that turn. Because when they're slamming in for 5, this thing's putting a second copy of itself in the hand. Both copies turn into 4/4s the turn after that. Catalyzers are doing things to me that I don't like. We're down to 14. Spectral Interference is way too late. This is not the time to draw that card. The Mist Land Drop means no hazard, so if I play a creature here, it just trades into a Catalyzer, but if I don't play a creature, I'm taking 6. They're going to max speed either way. Dang. Not sure this deck is going to make it to the 7-win run. And I'm getting sad, because I think this deck is just as strong as our last one. I think we just hit some weaker draws, some worse matchups. Couple rough mulligans. Yeah, no, this is going to take a whole lot to come back from. We're going down to 10, and they're drawing an extra card every turn now. Missing land drops is not helping. Biggest blocker. First exile for them is a land, but they get that out of the way and draw the next card. They're still drawing 2 a turn. So even if technically the exile wasn't a valuable card, by getting that out of the way, maybe the card underneath it is a good spell. Like maybe the card underneath it was Summit. Yay! GG, that's dead on board. That's magic for you. Again, I think this deck is pretty much just as strong as our Mardu deck, but we had a couple rough draws and mulligans and matchups. Pull it down to 5-3, which is still a really good record. We're still very much in the money. But there's just like nothing to do about that curve out from our opponent. The one thing that we could have done, I think very much in our control, was playing the 17th land. It was really bold to cut the 17th in this deck. We have so many powerful stabilizing tools at 5 mana. I only have 1 6-drop in the whole deck, technically, but Whir of Invention also kind of counts. But again, the thought process was like, I mean, we do have 2 bikes and a fuel tank feaster, but I think 2 of our 3 losses at least were just because we weren't hitting enough mana in time to be able to try to stabilize. Although, again, considering we had to mold to 6, I think even a really good 6-card hand that curves out all the way up to 5 or 6 couldn't really win that last game unless we specifically had one of the bombs. They had a really, really good start. But yeah, I mean, that's something I think I should have done. I think I got a little greedy going for a 16 land build with this deck. Should have cut like a Buccaneer for a 17th land or something like that. But overall, this was a really fun draft. I'm really happy with how I drafted, going for some spicy stuff, some cheese with the Whir of Invention with all these artifact rares, and I think it genuinely played out really well. I think one thing that is just objectively great is like the Transit Mage to go with those. The Whir was a little more gambly, a little more greedy because it takes so much mana. It's such a late game play, but it was, I mean, just basically a second copy of any one of these is ridiculous. So really loved that. Yeah, this was a super sweet draft. I'm sad we didn't get to play a full 9 games with it, at least go 6-3, and get the maximum amount of time spent playing this deck as possible. But it still did really, really well and was super, super powerful and fun. So we take those 1,600 gems and 4 packs, very far in the money. Still a good spot to be. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it and are interested in seeing some more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.